everybody, and welcome to another episode of the C Podcast featuring Hex and Shin. As always, though, my name is Shogun Shin, and I am joined by my co-host Hex Ginkgo. And moment, God, fucking Christ, literally moments before we started filming for tonight, apparently Hex's girlfriend jinxed Hex, so now Hex isn't allowed to talk. So I haven't had to deal with jinxing in ages. But Hex, if you could do me a solid using gestures, please tell me how long. Now, are you not allowed to talk until something else happens, or? Because I had always thought it was like either it was like a set time, before you were allowed to speak again, or it was something else that happened, and I can't remember what it is. Granted, my friends weren't evil. You should get yourself like a soundboard. That's how you should communicate. But my friends, when I was a kid, it was Jinx, you owe me a Coke. So like you were still allowed to talk, but you had to give the other person a thing instead. So that was how we did it. But I won't lie, this is very difficult when we are supposed to be doing a podcast where both of us are supposed to be communicating with each other through speech. Is there any way to do text to speech? I mean, like, not off the top of my head right now. I mean, I guess you could, man, I don't even know. I truly don't even know how we're gonna do this. We'll continue on with the podcast like normal. It's fine, but you try to figure that out on your end, and we'll go from there. Though this is really awkward though, because I do have a question for you, Hex, and that question is: do you know who Andrew Tate is? And have you ever heard of the name Andrew Tate? It's a yes or no question. So yes? Okay. All right. It's a yes or no question. It's a very easy way to respond. All right. So for those of you who may not know who Andrew Tate is, one, your life is simpler for not knowing. But Andrew Tate is I think he was like an MMO boxer, I think, or something like that. He was some sort of fighting athlete. I don't care. Like, I don't care enough to know. And that's not why that's not important. But the reason why why his name has surfaced so much in recent history is that apparently he is incredibly misogynistic, to the point where he has come under fire for multiple takes. Some of them being extremely, I'll say controversial, but some of them being extremely controversial in the fact that, like, he believes that if a woman gets raped, she should take. I saw the taking it back. But if the woman gets raped, she apparently should take some responsibility for being raped. Like, it's not all the rapist's fault. It is partially the victim's fault. That's just one thing. That's like one ideology that he has. He also has some of, like, I'm reading through an article here that to like gloss through. Okay, he's a kickboxer. Okay, kickboxer. That's fair enough. I should mention that the stuff that about all this is pretty trigger warning heavy. But he also has he also does like crypto copyright stuff, which is kind of whatever. But a lot of I guess he also is come under fire because he has this online. I guess it's this online school. It's essentially a pyramid scheme, where you sign up for like his classes of how to basically be Andrew Tate.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm good.
All right, you good? All right.
Yep. Apparently, I already bought her a soda today.
Aha!
Because she used my credit card.
Haha! Easy.
Okay.
But Andrew Tate
So he has an affiliate program for his school, which is what allows him to like keep. So his school is $50 a pop. Mm-hmm. So everybody who enrolls in the affiliate program, which is effectively a pyramid scheme, because it's like, hey, you enroll in the school, then you get an affiliate link, and then you give it to your friend. Like, it's a whole thing. But that's how he has like kind of a small following, all things considered. But he has like a really wide-reaching audience, because while his numbers may not have had appeared huge, he had a bigger influence because of the like mass marketing tactic that he did.
It also didn't help that a lot of like Andrew Tate doesn't really post a whole lot of stuff on social media anyways, but it's the people that follow this and will repost his like interviews or his like his videos and stuff like that on social media. So it's not even Andrew Tate himself that's doing this stuff. It's just other people that are reposting this stuff. Some of his most popular videos of Tate include where he suggested women were men's property and that rape victims should bear responsibility for their assault. He also has used violent language when talking about women, including in one video where he said he would attack a woman with a machete and beat her up if she accused him of cheating. Numerous outlets have reported that Romanian officials have looked into Tate as part of a human trafficking investigation, though he has denied any wrongdoing. Also, he lives in Romania, which is neither here nor there.
He fled to Romania.
He fled to Romania because of allegations. But a lot of these...
apparently Romanians like sex crime charges are more lax there.
Yeah.
Which is ironic because now he's being investigated in Romania.
Yeah, but videos featuring Tate were primarily targeted toward teen boys and young men, prompting concern over the influence he could have on developing minds. But that's kind of the rise of Andrew Tate as a whole. In which it is interesting because there's been a lot of backlash toward Andrew Tate about this stuff, and it's interesting to see that Tate has actually come out in response for this, in which he has said that the best thing that people can do if they don't like what he says is just ignoring him, which works to a certain degree, and not giving
that works until somebody gets directly in your face and tries to assault you because they're trying to be an alpha male.
Yeah. And also it's another thing is that ignoring it is just part of the problem, because it doesn't help when all of this
perpetuates it.
Yeah, all of this stuff is being perpetuated, and not just that, it's being perpetuated online still through the algorithm of any social media. But that being said, it was I think this was last week was kind of when this news broke for the most part, but Tate has now been evicted on multiple social media sites, including YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I think he just got kicked off of there.
Basically everything.
Yeah, basically everything. I think his TikTok is a very big one, so he just got kicked off of TikTok. And then his site for his online classes also just got shut down recently. Though that one, he has said that he's preparing for the third stage or whatever. But some people are just like, no, you just got caught. So it's a bit of a I don't know. It's like when I see stuff like this, I always am like, part of me is like happy. Like I'm glad that, you know, this person got kicked off of the social media platform and stuff like that. I'm happy for that. But at the same time, it's awkward that one, it took this long for it to happen, and then two, it still doesn't solve the problem, like the overarching problem that we have for social media.
Yeah.
Because Tate's just one example of this happening. Like we still see stuff like this happening on social media, just not with Tate. And it is frustrating to just be like, Ludwig actually put out a video, I want to say it was last week. It might have just been a couple of days ago. But Ludwig just put out a video talking about this stuff. That's like, the only reason Tate got kicked off of this, off these platforms was, it's not because of there was this huge outcry of people being like, hey, cancel this person and kick them off the platform. It was most likely because of some executive saw their kid watching this video or watching these things, right, and they're just like, oh, we can't have this. This isn't allowed. And then boom, the hammer got dropped. So like, it's unfortunate that stuff like this happens, but only when it reaches the top, then it becomes an issue.
Yeah, which is a huge fucking problem.
Yeah.
People are willing to just ignore it. Like people who actually have power are willing to just completely ignore it as long as they want. Because at the end of the day, he made TikTok money. He made YouTube money. He made all of these other platforms money. And then it's like,
oh, the money that we're getting is not that great because of this.
I mean, like, but they don't care because it's just dollar signs. It's only once it actually actively starts affecting them that any of these corporations or CEOs or whoever's in charge are willing to make something. It probably didn't even negatively affect their bottom line, like at all. I doubt it actually did.
Yeah, probably. Speaking of
them getting, it probably actually loses them money in the long run.
Yeah.
But you would hope that ideally that would be more important to them, but clearly it's not.
Yeah. Speaking of,
otherwise they would have done it way sooner.
Speaking of money though, and businesses and companies' bottom line, HBO Max also pulls nearly 200 Sesame Street episodes. This is kind of just the first article title that I've seen. But the HBO Max takes down classic episodes of Sesame Street as it prepares to combine with Discovery Plus. The move came as a surprise to fans who worried about what it signals. So I think Sesame Street isn't the only show, but HBO Max is starting to pull a bunch of just shows, like Sesame Street, a lot of kids shows, as well as just a bunch of like current new content. They're also pulling that stuff out as well, which a lot of people speculate is because of this merger with Discovery Plus. A lot of executives are trying to cut corners and cut budgets, and so they just can't have. And they also don't. I think the biggest speculation is they're cutting the shows because they're trying to cut budgets, as well as they don't want to pay residuals to to like actors and stuff like that to help save the money, which is unfortunate at the fact that that a lot of these titles and a lot of these episodes are not gonna be around, or people aren't gonna be able to watch a lot of this stuff anymore, which is just unfortunate overall, honestly. But it kind of just goes back to that bottom line of like companies don't care about you as a consumer. They only care about how much you are actually spending for the most part, which is unfortunate to say the least, honestly.
I'm trying to look here at all the stuff that got removed.
Yeah, I'm also trying to find a little bit more information as well.
Hold on a second.
I was gonna ask if you want to play some shit.
Yeah, so it's
No,
pulling dozens of shows. So Warner Bros. Discovery's HBO Max removing 36 movies and TV series from its platform. There are three main reasons why it's happening. This is from CNBC. So the film and series, which include 20 original HBO Max shows such as teen drama Generation and Sesame Street, spin-off The Not Too Late Show with Elmo, will be removed by the end of Friday. Let's see here. So while HBO Max already paid for the production of these shows, it's still on the hook for residuals, including so-called back-end payments to cast, crew, and writers based on long-term viewership metrics. By removing these films and shows, especially the ones HBO Max created rather than licensed, executives can cut expenses immediately. Warner Bros. Discovery has promised at least $3 billion in synergies stemming from the merger of Warner Media and Discovery announced in May. The content elimination in total will save tens of millions of dollars, according to two people familiar with the matter who asked not to be named because the finances are private. The reasoning isn't the same as why superhero movie Backer was scrapped earlier this month. That decision took advantage of a change of strategy merger tax benefit that allowed for writing off incomplete projects. The HBO Max shows already launched and have been on service, so they don't apply for that benefit. Warner Brothers can also potentially license the programming it has removed by selling it to another streaming provider, adding revenue by subtracting content that may give a second life to at least some of the shows and movies pulled from HBO Max. So yeah, that's the biggest reason as to why these shows are being cut. It's primarily so that way the company doesn't have to pay people anymore, which is unfortunate to say the least.
Which is ridiculous because they're just making hand over fist in profit.
Yeah.
Every single year.
Yeah. So these are the following series that we removed this week. 12 Dates of Christmas, About Last Night, Aquaman, King of Atlantis, Close Enough, Detention Adventure, Dodo, Ellen's Next Great Designer, Elliot from Earth, Esme and Roy, the Fungies? I don't know. Generation Hustle, Generation with a plus, Infinity Train. That was a big one that I've seen on Twitter. A lot of people were upset about Infinity Train. People
I've
really
never seen that one.
Apparently, it's
apparently on Hulu.
People
so
really like that one. So
I don't know.
Little Ellen, Mau Mau, Heroes of Pure Heart. A lot of these are kids shows. From what I'm seeing. Messi goes to Okido. Is it Okido or Hokkaido? It's Hokkaido, right? Regardless, Mia's Magic Playground, Mighty Magiswords, My Dinner
You're
with
thinking
Her.
of Hokkaido.
Oh, that one. Thank you.
Yeah.
My Mom, Your Dad, which just sounds like a funny show. I kind of want to know what that one's about. Odo, OK Go, that's a big one. OK Go, Let's Be Heroes. A lot of people were upset about that one. Apparently, that's also a very good show. The Ollie and Moon Show, Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures, Ravi Patel's Pursuit of Happiness, Select Sesame Street Specials, Make It Big, Make It Small, Share, Squish, Summer Camp Island, also very popular, The Not Too Late Show with Elmo, Runaway Bunny Special, Theodosia, Tig and Seek, Uncle Grandpa. I've seen a couple episodes of Uncle Grandpa. People really like it. I think it's one of those...
I've heard it's terrible.
It's one of those shows where I think it was one of those shows that I saw that I'm like, I'm too old for cartoons now. Like, this is a show for children, and I'm now too old for it. Victor and Valentino, Yabba Dabba Dinosaurs, and Connection Animal Planet, which is part of Discovery's catalog of reality TV. But that is also another one that is being axed from HBO Max for the most part.
Wait, Aquaman, King of Atlantis, that was just made.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah. A lot of, like, some of these series were literally
it was produced
just
by
made.
James Wan.
Yeah. Some of these were
What
literally
the fuck?
just made, but they've just been completely axed off the platform.
What the hell?
Yeah.
I don't understand. Like, what is even under the Discovery umbrella that anyone gives remotely a shit about?
Shark Week?
But that's on Disney Plus right now.
Oh, is it? Jude, I don't watch TV anymore. Like,
no, I don't either.
Like, I don't watch TV anymore. I don't even watch, like, so when I say I don't watch TV anymore, like, Hulu, Netflix, Discovery, Disney, I have none of these services, actually. I don't pay for any of these. Because I don't watch commercial television anymore.
Ooh,
So,
their
like,
stock dropped.
Gee, I wonder why.
I mean, yeah, I'm not
What
shocked.
a mystery.
7.3%.
But yeah, so I don't like. It sucks that some of these shows aren't on these platforms anymore, and that sucks hardcore. But like,
Wow.
it's so like my family pays for cable, but that's because my family is old and they watch cable still. But when it comes to like Hulu, Netflix, all that stuff, I don't have any of those services. And it's primarily just because I don't watch those shows anymore. Or I don't watch shows in general anymore. Which is like, and it's like, I look at it now from an outsider's perspective. I don't know whether or not it would be cheaper for me to pay for these services or just to continue paying for cable. Like I don't know what's cheaper.
Don't pay for cable. It's not cheaper. Because you're like the average cost of cable is like $100 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you get Netflix. I'm not trying to be a shill for these companies or these streaming services, but I have a lot of them. Because it allows me to get basically whatever I am specifically looking for. So I have access to Netflix. I pay for HBO Max and Hulu and Disney Plus, and I was paying for Paramount Plus.
That's another one.
Paramount Plus is actually pretty good, but you have to care about Paramount properties, which are plentiful. Like if you like Star Trek and you like Nickelodeon shows, it's really a good place for that. But otherwise, like they have a ton of movies. I don't really watch movies. That's kind of the problem.
Right.
But like HBO Max and Disney Plus and Hulu, those combined are like, that's enough for me. And that's way less than $100. That's less than $50 right there.
Mm.
So like it is really all about like picking and choosing.
Yeah.
And literally most of the time, all you have to do is like watch whatever show or movie. And one of the first things it's going to do is show you like where you can watch these, like what services allow them or like have them on their platform. And that's usually my go-to if I am specifically looking for a movie.
Yeah, that's also what I do is that I will watch stuff through alternative methods.
Oh no, well I mean like legit methods.
Oh.
So let's say I'll type in watch Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, because I guess that one's popular. Okay. So not even like free. Yeah, it's literally the first thing up here. So it says available on Netflix for a subscription, Amazon Prime for premium subscription, Paramount Plus subscription, rented on YouTube for $3, Apple TV for $4. So it's literally the first thing that pops up generally whenever you look up a movie. It's right there, and it'll show you like those. So that's actually a good way to get an idea of things that you are going to watch and maybe pay for, because if you're like, hey, I want to look up all of these movies and most of them share a single platform, it's probably your best bet, because it's probably going to be where you're going to see the most kinds of film or just like that kind of media that appeals to you. So that's a good way to do it. There are alternative methods. I know that people use VPNs for these because obviously this is only part of it. Because this is only from like, at least mine is from a specifically North American perspective. So, VPNs change all that. So, like if you have access to Netflix, you probably and you get a VPN, you can probably have access to even more things, but that might get confusing.
Yeah.
If you start looking things up, and then and it's only from whichever area you're from. But I've never used a VPN, so I can't really attest to that. But there are I don't understand why these companies are doing this, because they're literally just trying to create monopolies, which is, we have a lot of laws and protections against that. Granted, they've been undermined over the past 20 years,
Yeah,
which is really frustrating. But it's like, like every single person that like that knew about this HBO thing, it was like, this is a terrible idea. Every single person that I talked to, like even people who don't have HBO Max or like any of that, they were like, this merger is going to kill a lot of things.
Yeah.
For no reason. And they're just gonna lose hand over fist in money. And so it took a 7.43% drop today. That's year to, like, so it says their revenue from June 2022 has been $9.83 billion, which is a 220.93% increase from a year-to-year thing. Within the past 52-week high of the Warner Brothers Discovery fucking shares was 31.55. Right now, it is at 12.69.
Wow.
In a year, it has lost almost $20, which is a lot. And that's just ridiculous. Like, no one cares that your House of the Dragon show is coming out because you shit the bed with Game of Thrones. So if you're like, well, this is going to reinvigorate HBO after we cut all of this other content, like, no one cares. No one's going to watch your shit, especially now.
That being said,
so many people are leaving the
platform. The viewer metrics for Game of Thrones, for the new Game of Thrones show, House of Dragons, apparently there's enough interest in it that HBO has justified being like, you know what, we got Game of Thrones still, and people still like that. So, like,
I mean, it's always going to be a draw.
Yeah.
Even if it's hate watching, that's always going to be a thing.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I really don't plan on ever watching Game of Thrones again unless it's the first 4 seasons. But that's still going to be me going to the platform and watching Game of Thrones. So, you know, it's not really like putting your money where your mouth is, because I'm still going to be going back to it, like, potentially. I don't see myself doing it because the books are way better and I'd much rather read the books. But I have zero interest in the show, and I know a ton of people who have zero interest in the show because it's just like, you kind of burned a bridge there, and you're burning more bridges, like, without necessarily realizing it. That it doesn't even necessarily have to do with Game of Thrones. It's that you're propping up this stuff that people care about significantly less than the things that you're removing. It's like a sleight of hand, but the dude's doing it directly in your face. You know, it's like, is this your card? And he just took the, you know, he like literally grabbed it from your hand, took the thing that you were looking at, and then, you know, gave you a new one. It's like, no, that's not my card because you threw it away. But all right, I guess I'll take this one.
Yeah.
Thanks for also stealing my
like,
money.
Cool, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, there's no way to look at this as, like, not a completely terrible business decision by a giant mega corporation that's just making more money. They made so much money in the past 2 years. And, like, I think that they're thinking, oh, hey, we need to recoup losses that we totally lost, just billions of dollars over the pandemic because nobody went to go see movies. It's like, most of the movies that came out that were released day of in theaters and on HBO Max were terrible movies. Except for Dune. Dune was fantastic.
I've heard a lot of good things from Dune.
But
I've heard a lot of good things.
You know, like, that's not Dune's fault. That's your fault for, you know, releasing it then. I mean, in all honesty, if they really, 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 really wanted to make money, and that they were that worried about it, just delay it until after the pandemic, which, you know, we're still not there, but we are much more there than we were before.
Yeah.
You know? So, or at least theoretically speaking, it's actually getting worse, but I don't really want to speak to that. But people are actually going to the theaters. Like, considering how amazing Spider-Man No Way Home did, even though we were still pretty into the pandemic at that point. We weren't in quarantine, we weren't in lockdown, we weren't in any of that, but people were still regularly going out and wearing masks and like social distancing to a certain degree.
Yeah.
At least here, it was a much bigger thing. I know in other states and areas, it that basically didn't exist, but it did so well. Like, Dune wouldn't have reached that, but it definitely would have done a lot better than it did. I mean, but, like, oh, we have to recoup our losses because we didn't make as much as Spider-Man. It's like, no one's going to make as much as Spider-Man. The Batman didn't get close.
Yeah.
And that was a great movie. I'd rather watch that again than Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that No Way Home is bad, but it's one of those, like, it doesn't have rewatchability as much.
Yeah.
It's kind of like watching Avengers Endgame.
It is, yeah. It's like, well, so Marvel movies, I think in general they're very like, I guess, casual friendly. And that sounds like a bad thing. It's not. It's like it's a super, like, it's I think Marvel has defined what the stereotypical superhero movie is, in
for better or for worse.
For better or for worse, yeah. And so, like, like, especially, I think for Marvel movies, I think if you like, if you're a very casual moviegoer, you like superhero movies, you'll like Marvel movies, most likely. Like, 8 out of 10, probably. Most likely. And there's nothing bad. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just, like, it is one of the things where it's like, that's kind of it, a lot of the stuff that, it's a lot of repeated kind of, like, themes. So, like, I wasn't actually a huge fan of Thor Ragnarok or Black Panther, because a lot of the time
you didn't like Thor Ragnarok?
I liked them. It was just like watching them, I just knew what was going to happen. Like, a lot of times I just knew what was going to happen. I'm like, oh, like, this will happen, or like, in like joke, there's going to be a joke here. Like, it was very predictable. Like, and again, it wasn't anything wrong with them. It was just like, you've seen you've seen a few Marvel movies. You've basically seen them all, because they're the exact same formula. I think Marvel movies they kind of follow that idea of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, like, a lot of them are just like, oh, okay, like, I know where this is going. Am I upset by it? No, it's still fun. I just know what's gonna happen now. Or like, I know what's happening, and because I've seen this, basically the same thing play out, 8, 10 different times. And it's like, okay, whatever, it's fine. And I think that's, again, for better or for worse, Marvel succeeds in that because it is a tried and true formula, and they know how to, like, they just keep doing it over and over again. And again, for your average moviegoer, it's fine. I think where DC struggles is that DC, I think, tries to make things a little bit more dramatic, and because they make things more dramatic, but at the same time they also try to do stuff differently. They don't try to stick with the whole, like, campy comic book kind of, like, feel, as opposed to Marvel movies. And a lot of DC movies, I feel like, are a little bit more, they're more of a serious tone, or they have more of a serious tone to them, which is, I feel like,
a problem.
I wouldn't say a problem. It's most people see a DC movie and they go, oh, a superhero movie like Marvel, and then they watch it and they go, that wasn't like Marvel at all. That was dumb. It was awful. And it's like, Yes and no.
Well,
like that. Like it could be, but at the same time, it's like I think some of the criticism for DC movies is it's not Marvel, therefore it's bad.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. That's why it's a problem. Is like we've been oversaturated. Like we're incredibly oversaturated with comic book movies in general, and Marvel has just put it into everybody's brains of this is the only correct way to do a superhero movie or a comic book movie in general, because and people expect that, like you said. But like, not to give DC a free pass, because their scripts are still really bad.
Yeah.
In general. I mean, even the Batman had problems, which I was a huge fan of. But what was it? The latest Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. It tried to like deviate a little from that that really stringent fucking their methodology of storytelling, which is super boring at this point. And I think that's why I liked Multiverse of Madness as much as I did, as even though it had a whole plethora of issues, it was just different. And just being different alone was enough for me to be like, oh god, this is so much better than every other Marvel movie, even though it technically wasn't like to that standard of quality that I like in film. It was like it attempted to be actually funny, not just like stupid Marvel jokes.
Not like campy funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was campy funny, but like good, because it was Sam Raimi, and that's what he does. He knows how to do camp, like that's his thing, and like campy horror, which is also something that he excels at. Like he almost invented it, at least in terms of like the modern idea of it, I think, because we really don't use a ton of horror camp nowadays, but obviously it was a much bigger thing then, like in the the 60s and 70s and stuff, which is where he got a lot of his inspiration from. So he basically revolutionized it, and since then we don't see a lot of it, and seeing it in a Marvel movie was really refreshing. And that movie, for all intents and purposes, kind of tanked, which sucks,
Yeah.
because it's like once one person tries to do something different and against the grain, that people are so accustomed to, they don't give it either a fair shot, or they're just so indoctrinated that they're like, well, this is different, I don't like it.
Yeah.
What is this? Like, you people just don't understand quality.
Yeah.
Like your standards have just slipped completely.
And I mean, that's
in terms
that's the hard part, I think, of making anything, is that like it's hard for, especially, I say hard, it's difficult for, especially big companies like Marvel and stuff like that. You find the formula that works, and it's like, part of you wants to make stuff different, because that's how you kind of keep innovating and you keep evolving. But at the same time, you do run the risk of, the court of public opinion says, oh, this is different, ew.
right.
And it's like, you hope that they are receptive of it. But, I think, unfortunately, I think that like probably 70% of the time when the public is met with change, I think 70% of the time it's the public does not like that.
No. That ratio is based on nothing, but I would absolutely agree. Like that generally seems like a much higher percentage of people are so against any form of their like tunnel vision-y, way of thinking.
Yeah.
Oh god, it minorly inconveniences me or doesn't have anything to do with me, but I still don't like it because you said you're changing it. It's like, why? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Film, like, I just read an issue of this Batman comic that just came out, and it was one of the best comics I've read in a really, 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 really long time. And it actually does a lot of, direct referencing to Dead Poet Society, which is an amazing film that not enough people have seen. And after reading and reviewing the comic, I realized most people who read the comic had no clue that it was being directly referenced and how important that was and how cool it was and how much the author goes into it, like his love of film to bring stuff like that onto the page, even if it's kind of like directly ripping it, but like it's in a different medium, and he actually has a respect for the work that he is homaging or just straight up using. And people, like, there were some, not many, but some who were like very outspoken about how this is the single worst comic I've ever read. And I'm like, you have zero media literacy and reading comprehension, because if you had any idea of like how good this actually is, you would not be saying that. I don't know, like a lot more goes into film and writing and any form of art than I think people are really willing to think about.
Yeah.
And I think that's why overall, especially Marvel movies, just don't have to try so hard, because they found that formula people are so...
they know what the lowest
the bare minimum
bar... Yeah, they know what the lowest bar is, and it's like, all right, yeah, we hit it.
So anytime people try to exceed that, it's like, this is just too much.
And I think that's another thing, is that I think the average person, especially when you're not ingrained in sort of the comic book culture, or just in any, when you're not ingrained in a specific world or whatever.
It's the same way with regular literature,
but people I think companies like Marvel know that their average viewer is not going to do extra research. They're not going to going to look into stuff all too much. It's the same. It's a similar thing happened with when the first Deadpool movie came out. When the Deadpool movie came out, sure, that wasn't specifically Marvel, but that was a rated R movie. It was about Deadpool, and you had a lot of people giving backlash to the movie, and they're like, I can't believe you guys put out a superhero movie like this. Like, I took my children to this movie, and this was not what I expected at all. I'm like, yeah, it's a rated R movie. Fucking duh.
Like, just because your kid's like, oh man, I love Deadpool, he's so cool. It's like, okay, first of all, there's no way that your kid has actually really... either he's read it, but he definitely didn't understand it. And again, these are comics that literally say, hey, this is for mature readers.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a single Deadpool comic, except for like the early X-Men ones, or X-Force ones. But that was, way back in the day. And he definitely didn't act like he does now.
Yeah.
So, like, you're just being unaware of your child's interests and then you're getting mad at other people for not paying attention to your kid.
Yeah.
It completely goes past the Marvel didn't tell me, and it's like, no, like, or they made a movie that appeals to kids, sort of.
Yeah.
It appeals to kids because Deadpool's funny, and like he's like this zany, off the wall, fourth wall breaking, hyper violent thing, and that appeals to every Fortnite kid's brain, because that's all basically Fortnite is.
Yeah.
It's just like flat, big characters. Throw in an X-Men character, and have them curse a lot and bright colors.
Yeah.
And they, again, hyperviolence. And it's like, oh yeah, no, this is gonna work. And they knew that because they marketed it towards children intentionally, because they knew it was going to get that reaction, because they while it's like, yeah, it is rated R and it's not for kids, it's like they know kids are going to be the ones that are pushing their parents to go see this.
Yeah.
It's smart tactics, and
it's smart tactics with very
even
questionable
negative
ethics.
Yeah. I mean, but like negative press still got people in seats,
Yeah.
Like I guarantee you there were probably some people that never would have gone to see Deadpool if it weren't for like, oh shit, look at what Deadpool's doing.
Yeah.
Like people are really upset about this movie. Why am I going to go watch that? Or like, should we go watch it? Because it's, it's a comic book movie probably for kids. And then it's like, oh no, it's actually not. From people with an outside, with an even more outside perspective of didn't read comics, don't have kids, and are just like, I want to see why all the Karens are mad.
Yeah.
It worked on a whole bunch of levels, but that's kind of few and far between, because more and more things, people have a short memory for a lot of things.
Yeah.
But they remember stuff like that, of like kind of getting duped.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it's like
viral stuff like that.
Yeah, like
doesn't really stick around for very long.
Yeah. It is, yeah.
It only works so many times.
Yeah. Well, moving on to a different segment, because I don't have a good segue from that. Let's talk about Ohio, which is the state that I live in. So Ohio, the first thing is, so last week we talked about, there's been a huge teacher shortage, school supply shortage, lunches have been cut for and like that's been a burden on families. But apparently, in Ohio, the Columbus Education Association, also known as the CEA, which is Columbus's Union of Education Employees, announced that 94% of its members voted in favor of, let's see. Oh, so they voted in favor of some, it was some sort of contract proposal. But I guess the district, unionized teachers in Ohio's largest school district voted overwhelmingly to strike late Sunday night, rejecting a final contract proposal from the Columbus Board of Education. So it apparently, the CEA represents some 4,500 teachers, librarians, nurses, and other employees in the district with more than 46,000 students. And so basically all of these teachers have gone on strike now. For the teachers were originally scheduled to return to school on Monday in preparation for the first day of classes Wednesday, but their contract expired at 12:01 a.m. after weeks of negotiations failed to produce an agreement. On July 28th, the school board walked away with the bargaining table, and since that time has refused to agree to contract language that will guarantee Columbus students basics like air conditioning, appropriate class sizes, and full-time art, music, and PE teachers in elementary schools, the CEA said in a statement. The union is also demanding better building conditions, air quality, and teacher pay. So, that's happening in Columbus now. A bunch of teachers have gone on strike. Arguably justified, because again, like I said last week, for a society that stresses education and getting a better education to get a better future, there are not enough steps, or there aren't enough actions taken in supporting that claim, which I always find very interesting and mildly hypocritical. But this, I thought this story was really interesting in the fact that a lot of, there's been a lot of support for these teachers going on strike. There's a lot of support for them because it makes sense that they would want better looking back on it as I get older, being a teacher kind of blows. Like not in the sense of like financially or like but like reputation wise, but it's like the amount of stuff that teachers have to go through, like just in general, like dealing with students, dealing with teaching, like dealing with students in general, having to teach the students, and then you get students that like disrespect them. It's like,
right,
it fucking blows. Like, and then like I feel like being a teacher, you have to I feel like being a teacher is a job that you are kind of always set up to potentially fail, and it's primarily through like resources and like materials for the most part. Because like you always hear stories of teachers having to, you know, deal with like not having too large of class sizes. Like I think there have been some cases like a few years ago at least that some teachers were advocating for smaller class sizes, because then they were like, I think there was like a piece of legislation that wanted to reduce class sizes to, I want to say 20 some people, which got struck down. But then because teachers were having to teach in class sizes of like 30 to 40 people, and in like an elementary school sense, even up through a high school sense, that's way too many. Like just in general to get a proper education for most people.
God, I've heard of some people having like 60 kids or something in their high school class, which is just, I don't think I ever had one with 30.
Same. I think the largest class that I ever had in high school was, I think, probably 14, at most 20, and even then that was very few and far between, to be completely honest. But I thought that was just like an interesting thing that is happening in Columbus.
I'm literally so this thing that you linked had that statement on July 28th, the school board walked away from the bargaining table and all that. Specifically, it was so that students could have air conditioning, appropriate class sizes, full-time art, music, and PE teachers in the elementary schools. Like, these people, like, teachers are not doing this for the sake of themselves,
right? Yeah,
necessarily. Yeah. Like, yes, it benefits them if their art, music, and PE teachers can get full-time because, you know, they can get paid.
Yeah.
Because people need to be able to live. But, like, not overworking teachers by having smaller class sizes, which allows these students to have more, like, intimate, like, experiences with their class, so that they're not being brushed over.
Yeah.
You know, every single one of these things is super important to learning. Like, granted, like, some people learn differently, but, like, there's almost no data to be like, oh yeah, just throwing you in a lecture hall is such a better experience than for individual learning than it is to have a small class where you can directly ask the teacher at more inconvenient times, like you're able to stop because you have the time to be able to take. Like in a lecture, you're just in and out. You know, you get through your shit. Like, you don't ask questions. It's just you write down your notes, and then you maybe talk to your teacher during office hours, which doesn't exist for a lot of kids because they have after school activities. They have or they have to get on the bus just to get home.
Yeah, you have to go. Yeah,
at an appropriate time.
Yeah.
So or just fucking air conditioning. Every single one of these I had in elementary school, middle school, and I'm pretty sure high school. Like we had art all day, music all day, pee all day for all of our teachers. We always had air conditioning, and like I said, I don't think I ever saw 30 kids in a class.
Yeah, and
Ever.
I think it's interesting that a lot of the backlash from these teachers striking is coming from, oh, like why don't you think about the kids, and like
Right.
that's like
They're not going to be learning.
They're not gonna be learning. It's like, motherfucker, the whole reason they're striking is so that way the kids have better learning.
They weren't learning, like they were having a harder time learning before. You
Yeah,
idiots.
it's like, it's not
because
like this is
they're
gonna-
overheating in their classroom,
Yeah.
causing them to pass out, and then they have to go to the nurse, which doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Because they're not paying
Like,
their nurses to
makes
be there.
No, it makes absolutely
because
no
they
sense.
probably also had heat stroke
Yeah.
because there's no air conditioning. So
Yeah.
you know, like
And I remember,
you idiots.
I remember when pandemic was starting up, like a lot of schools came under fire for one, not enforcing like masks, and then also
Right.
they would a lot of schools were coming under fire of not having proper ventilation.
Yep.
So you just had a bunch of kids and a bunch of people in general just in a stuffy classroom, potentially just transmitting diseases easily.
Yeah, it had the potential to be even worse, like of a super spreader event than like a presidential rally or like a concert.
Yeah.
You know, because granted that they are smaller classes, you don't have 300 people packed in one room all like dancing and sweating and shit like it like would be in a concert, but concerts aren't 6 hours long.
Yeah.
You know, or how long is school? Is it 6 hours or is it 8 hours?
I think it's 8. So my school day, we'd start at 7:30 and then we get done by 2. So
I was 8:30 to 3:45.
yeah. So my school day was about 7 hours.
Yeah, okay. So yeah. And like diseases transmit really easily, especially the ones that we've been exposed to over the past couple years.
Yeah.
And you have bad ventilation and a bunch of kids not taking proper precautions because you're not forcing them to. It's a bad idea. I mean, like, I don't know how many times I had friends just get sick all the time.
Yeah.
In high school, like, and then once we get out, nobody gets sick, fucking ever.
Yeah.
A handful of my friends still get sick.
Yeah.
But you know, that's probably underlying health issues. It's not like you're getting a cold every week because, you know, you're around 500 other people every day. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. Another
The
thing.
Northwest gets it.
Yeah. Yeah. Another thing that I found interesting was that apparently Brock Turner lives in Dayton, Ohio, which I thought was an interesting thing.
Huh.
If people don't remember who Brock Turner is, Brock Turner.
I really don't want to look him up.
It's fine. Brock Turner
I don't want to look that up on Google
is
right now.
Brock Turner.
I know who he is.
He was a student at Stanford who was convicted of sexually assaulting an unconscious woman in 2016, and the case gained massive attention because of how everything was handled. A lot of the allegations. So he was convicted of sexually assaulting an unconscious woman in 2016, and during that,
he was only given probation.
Yeah, he was only
as far
given
as I know.
He was only given probation, and I think I think he had to register as a sex offender. In which that was the a lot of people criticized that sentence because of a lot of people believe that it was racially biased, in that the fact that Brock Turner was
because
he's
white.
Yeah, because he's just a white male. And so I think his defending lawyer, even was like, I think the original sentence was supposed to be registering as a sex offender, and I think it was supposed to be jail time, I think. But the lawyer defended that was too harsh of a punishment for, I think the quote was, it was too harsh of a punishment for a few minutes of action. That was
Right.
That was the defending lawyer's statement. In which a lot of people were like, he sexually assaulted an unconscious woman. I think there was a little bit more than just action happening there.
Yeah, we're not worried, I mean, about the length of time. It was the fact that it happened.
Yeah. So,
I mean, yeah, length of time does matter, but at the end of the day, it's solely the actions that are the most pertinent problem.
yeah. But so, the reason why I brought this story back up, though, is not just because he lives in Dayton. That's not like the major headline. The major headline is that he lives in Dayton, and apparently Ohioans are taking us to social media to warn each other that Brock Turner is apparently back in town. Alarmed users began posting about Turner's whereabouts last week, saying that the now 27-year-old had moved back to Dayton and had been spotted at bars in the city's suburbs. Quote, if you see him
God, he's
out,
only a year
inform the
younger than me.
bartenders who he is, inform the women in the bar who he is, and do not let anyone intoxicated walk away with him alone, read one on August 17th. Facebook post that was copied and shared more than 18,000 times. A warning posted to Twitter a day later received nearly 85,000 likes, quoting, Brock Turner does not belong in public, the tweet read. Vice News pointed out on Monday that it was unclear why the warnings were emerging now, as Turner, who is from Bellbrook, Ohio, had reportedly lived in the state for years. Considering he's going out to local bars, I get the feeling he wants to go out in public and hope everyone moves on, wrote a poster on the Dayton subreddit. So keep spreading awareness so that fucking creep can never do that.
It's kind of, it makes me think about, what's that fucking other terrible kid who killed those people at the BLM protests where he went across state lines.
I know who you're talking about. I know exactly who you're talking about.
When he was underage.
He bought a gun.
He didn't.
Oh, he didn't?
He actually didn't buy a gun.
Okay.
I actually found out more information than I knew. He didn't buy a gun. It was provided to him. And even though he was underage, the laws in that state actually allowed him to legally hold it. It's a bunch of bullshit. Like, in any other state, at least any other state with a fucking
Kyle
brain,
Rittenhouse, that's it.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, any other state that actually has, like, moderately decent common sense gun laws, which basically no state really does, he would have been a convicted fucking murderer.
Yeah.
Like, 100%. There's no way that he would have been able to do that. But in the state that he went to and all of this stuff, like, technically, legally, he wasn't necessarily doing anything wrong. Except for, intentionally wanting to go kill black people, which is literally something that he had said. But, but it comes down to, like, people, when he applied for college, all these colleges backed out. And we're just like, no, we don't want you here. And it's like, yeah, that's good. Like, fuck him. And then it was like, oh, cancel culture is destroying this kid's future. It's like, no, he ended 2 or 3 people's futures.
Yeah.
Forever. Like, I don't give a shit if he doesn't get to go to the college that he wants to.
Yeah.
He shot people and ended their lives. Like, you don't get to go out in public. I'm sorry, fuck you. There's no remorse for that.
Yeah.
Like, if you go out and kill somebody, especially in a racially motivated way, or if you go out and, sexually assault somebody who's unconscious, I mean, regardless of their conscious level, if you go out and sexually assault somebody, you've lost all right to privacy and any sort of, like, benefits that you could get, for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah. So, Okay, so I have it pulled up here. Prosecutors recommended that Turner be given a 6-year prison sentence based on the purposefulness of the action, the effort to hide this activity, and her intoxicated state. Santa Clara County probation officials, including his probation officer, recommended that Turner receive a moderate county jail sentence with formal probation based on Turner's lack of criminal history, youth, and expression of remorse. The probation report did not mention another woman who said she had been upset by Turner's unwanted physical advances at a Kappa Alpha party 8 days before the charged offense. The report was present in the trial record. On June 2nd, Judge Aaron Persky sentenced Turner to 6 months in the Santa Clara County Jail, followed by 3 years of probation. After 3 months in jail, Turner was released on September 2nd, and he is permanently registered as a sex offender and was obliged to participate in a sex offender rehabilitation program. So
Not enough, but
yeah, and I think he got so he was sentenced to 6 months, and he was released 3 months later. So he even got out early. He not only got a shorter sentence, but he also got out early as well, which angered a lot of people. Again, because he's a white male, and it's like he has the privilege to do that.
Well, I remember
the speculation
he
has the privilege to do that, I should say.
There was a lot of flack thrown at the judge. I might actually be mixing these two people up, or I might be mixing Kyle Rittenhouse and Brock Turner. But I remember, no, it was Brock Turner, because the judge said, and I'm paraphrasing to the best of my ability because I don't have the direct quote, something along the lines of, I don't want to ruin this young boy's life.
Yeah.
Like, he has a lot ahead of him.
Yeah.
In regards to, like, his swim team.
Because he was a Stanford athlete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't want to take that away from him. It's like, take it away from him.
Take it away.
He doesn't get to swim with people.
Yeah.
He doesn't get to do anything with people. Like, he should not be allowed around any woman for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Fuck.
So that I remember this case bringing a lot of backlash. It's one of those. It was an interesting. Again, it's just one of those interesting headlines that I saw today, and I'm like, I'm sure that Brock Turner would love to have this all blow over. Unfortunately, due to the consequences of his actions, that's not gonna happen.
No.
And part of me
and
is
the internet
like,
doesn't forget anymore.
Yeah. Part of me is like kind of sorry, but at the same time, like, part of me is like, man, that sucks for that guy. But then I remember who that guy is, and I go, I'm not sorry anymore.
Yeah. No.
Stop being sorry.
Don't even say you're sorry. Like, there is no realm. Like, even if it weren't specifically him, anybody who did that they don't. No, there's no remorse there. You can't even remotely feel that. Like, I don't know. There's been this whole, like, reverse cancel culture thing going on recently, and I only read an article about it, and it was talking about how, like, now James Franco is doing work, and there was a list of a couple other actors and stuff, and they're like, well, when is Kevin Spacey gonna come back? And we're like, never.
Never. No.
None of these people should be coming back. Like, stop.
Yeah.
The only time cancel culture is in the wrong is when somebody abuses it.
Yeah.
To destroy somebody who actually didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
But when all of these lists of people have done something racist or, you know, something sexual or just harassing people, they should not be allowed in the public eye, especially in any form of, like, celebrity notoriety kind of thing, because it's like, it's just going to generate attention for them, and people are like, the wrong people are going to start looking at that, and it's going to become an Andrew Tate situation.
Yeah.
You know, it's like somebody somewhere is going to agree with them or defend them, and it's not a good thing. You just need to get these people, like, away from the camera or away from headlines or all of this stuff. Like, not that we need to forget them. We don't need to forget their actions, but we need to forget why they were important.
Yeah.
Like, I used to love James Franco. The dude literally set up an agency so that he could basically casting couch a bunch of young like potential actresses or actors, you know, female actors. And it was nothing. It was just so that he could have sex with some women. And it's like, the ape brain in me is just like, that's based. And I was like, no, that's not okay. Like, there's no defending that,
right?
Because like, any straight white male any straight male would be like, oh, that would be really cool if I could just, you know, if you were into polyamory or you just that's the kind of thing that you were into or whatever, you know, you'd be like, oh man, I wish I could have, you know, relations with all of these different women. But the method that you go about it is very important.
Yeah.
You know,
like there's a process that you should probably go through.
And you don't create a fake talent agency to lie to women to then sleep with them so that they might get a job.
Yeah.
Like, people are going to sleep with you anyway, James Franco, and if they aren't sleeping with you, then there's probably underlying problems. You know, if you have to set this up because people don't want to sleep with you,
such a shame,
and you're as famous and as rich as you are, there's probably a reason.
James Franco's also a very handsome man too. Like,
he is.
He's a very handsome man, very funny. Like, it's unfortunate that I 100% agree with like people would sleep with James Franco anyways. Like, there's no reason to set this up. Hell, I bet you if James Franco had set up the studio and didn't advertise it as it'll help people to get a job and just solely advertised it as I just want to meet women and have sex with them, probably wouldn't have been fine. No one would have had a problem with that.
Yeah.
I'm like, sure.
I mean, it's not even prostitution. It's like one-way Tinder.
Yeah. It's just like, okay, sure. I get all right,
meet me here.
Yeah, you'd face criticism of that's kind of weird, but then
we'll have a date.
Yeah, but most people would just be like, but it's James Franco though. Like, okay.
Yeah, it's just like
two consenting. Yeah, it's like two consenting adults doing whatever. It's like, all right, sure.
But you're not like,
probably would have been just fine.
You're not being a fucking like, you're still being a little weird.
It's weird, but it's like it's not. It's not like slime ball weird. It's just like that's kind of odd.
It's like, all right.
Like it's a legal kind of weird. I'm like, oh, that's odd, but okay, you know.
Yeah.
It's not doing anything wrong. Not necessarily.
You're not actually tricking women into sleeping with you.
Like you're not tricking them. You're
at least being upfront.
Yeah, it's like it's an honest weird. It's just an honest weird. I'm like, that's strange, but okay, I can respect it enough where at least you're honest about it.
Yeah.
So okay. Speaking of canceling people though, as well. Speaking of canceling people, I posted a video earlier this morning in our Final Fantasy general news. And it was a YouTuber reacting to, I guess, this drama that happened in this static. And for those who you don't know what a static is, a static in Final Fantasy XIV is basically just a group of people that get together regularly to raid. That's literally it's a static, literally a static group of people that get together to raid. The story behind this clip, to which I've shared in our podcast channel, I shared the YouTuber reacting to this, as well as the original clip from this streamer originally. But so the drama is this streamer is I guess they had just finished raiding for the night, to which they got their clear.
Is that the Twitter link?
No, it's a Twitch link.
Where is it?
it's the last two things that I posted. It's a YouTube one, and then it's the actual Twitch clip itself, in the podcast channel.
Okay. I was looking in the
yeah. It's in the podcast channel.
Okay.
But so the backstory or the context to this clip is this streamer, her static had just finished raiding. I think they got their clear, so they're done. They're not going to, they're essentially done raiding with each other essentially. And one of the streamer's teammates, or party members, just goes off on this streamer, and just starts going, like, popping off against them, saying that they're so happy that they never have to raid with their dumbass ever again. They are the worst fucking player they've ever played with, and the audacity to fucking make fun of us on your stream and not to our fucking faces is low. And she just continues to go off, and talk about just, like, how low of a person the streamer is, just how bad, like, all the stuff that she says to about them behind their backs while they're muted and stuff like that. But this person just goes completely off. I watched this morning. It's, like, scathing to hear what she says. But so the streamer, also known as Inoko Yamaniko, I'll say their name because it's they saved this clip on their channel.
Specifically, who's in the wrong here? The streamer or the person who's going off?
It's a little bit of both. It's like 30% the person going off and 20% the person going off, 80% the streamer. To wit, because it's hard to justify. That's why I posted the clip itself and the YouTube video, because the YouTube video shows the clip, but then at the very end it shows a brief clip of the streamer actually, like, talking shit about her teammates. Because on the Twitch channel, on Inoko's Twitch channel, all of her stuff is gone. All of her VODs, all of her broadcasts. The only thing she has on there is this clip and, like, a couple other stuff. But she saved this clip specifically on her channel, and I think it's in an attempt to make it look like she's the victim.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's why I posted that's why I have the clip itself and the YouTube
hilarious
video. It's
holy shit.
Wild.
No. Looking at the I haven't even started to watch the clip because it's actually, like, almost 5 minutes long.
Yeah, it's long. It's really long, but it's fucking wild.
It's the amount of views on all the other clips.
Mm-hmm.
There's 4 other clips in the recent highlights and uploads section. There's 34 views, 53 views, 333 views, 1,000 views, 55,500 views.
Yeah. Like,
on this newest one.
On just this clip. Like, it is insanity. But so again, like, this whole drama comes off, and again, I think a lot of people are speculating that this Inoko, she left this clip on her channel to make it seem like she's the victim. And out of context, I'd be like, yeah, like, man, that other person, she went off the rails, and that was just not cool. But, like, if you watch the rest of the clip, though, another person chimes in and goes, I'm sorry you had to find out this way, but a lot of us here feel like it was definitely deserved. And it's, like, the quietest thing, and I'm like, oh, oh no.
Yeah, the only reason to get rid of all of that stuff, if you're posting a video like this, is that you don't want to give people context for what they were saying. Yeah. It's not because you're trying to give people context for what you were going through. It's because you know that they were right.
Yeah, but so, and so a lot of, I was going through the comments of the YouTube video as well, and a lot of people we're just saying that one of the comments is, I saw the video that got deleted and just want to say she was calling them all retarded and referring to them as fuckers, laughing at them, drowning out callouts with music, and essentially just shit talking for an entire 18 minutes straight before this girl popped off on her. I think it was completely justified, especially if this had been going on for months. A lot of so I guess a bunch of people are saying that, you know, this was a thing that she regularly did on stream. That she would just mute herself and just talk shit about them, and, you know, her teammates would watch her stream, and that's how they found out about this. But it was, yeah, I think it's to me, it baffles my mind on how she thought that having this clip up is in any way a way for her to defend. Having this clip was in any way made her look like the victim, especially because, again, if you watch the clip itself, you can hear her other party members just being like, yeah, you deserve everything that this other person said to you, like, you deserve all of this. And it like, watching that back, I'm just like, why would you, like, if you're gonna make yourself look like the victim, why would you keep this in there? Like, I know, like, because you can edit clips. You can edit clips as well.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, it would, like, the part where the other guy goes, you know, a lot of us think you deserve this, I would have just been like, you cut right before that. You right. Make sure that doesn't get said, because
set the length of this clip.
Yeah, like, she set the length, and it's like, they know what you're doing. Another comment is, for better context, the girl streamer we see has been talking shit about her Static the whole time, progging they're on live stream. The Static found out at some point. For some reason, they still kept her around after they finally cleared. Where is it? I can't find it. Okay, this might be a different comment, but someone does mention that's like this, just the tiny little, some of us here just think you deserved it. And it's just like, ooh, that's just the nail in the coffin of, this person is actually awful. But it also watching this also made me self-conscious about myself when I stream too, because, like, I will admit that, like, when I'm raiding with people, I have definitely made passive aggressive comments about my teammates, but I've never done it in, I guess I'll say I've never done it in, like, a hostile way. I'll usually, like, typically I'll be like, oh yeah, this person died because of this. That sucks, but it happens. You know, I've never, at least in my remembrance, I've never actively flamed someone and been like, oh man, I can't believe this person died. Like, they're fucking dumb. They're so stupid. I don't know why they play this game. I've never done that. It's typically I'll always be like, yeah, like, it sucks that they died this way. It makes sense though, because, you know, that's, like, it's a hard thing to do, or it's like, it's a very tight maneuver, blah 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 blah. It's always justified of, like, why they died or what happened. I definitely know that I've gone and been like, I know that I've made comments of, like, hey, like, awesome, I'm the only one that didn't fuck up, but that, and like everyone else fucked up, but that, like, I didn't fuck up, and go me. I made those comments before, but typically those are also just because of whatever other people are doing has no effect on me. Like, if they have to, like, whatever I do doesn't affect them, and what they do doesn't affect me. It's just like, oh, they died, that sucks. Anyways, moving on. So, like, I've made those comments before, but it definitely made me a little self-conscious in, like, shit, have I ever said stuff like this on stream before? I don't remember, but I don't think I have. Personally, I don't think I have.
I make comments.
Yeah.
Like, I make some comments all the time to people, but
the difference is that you're not live. You're not streaming when you're doing it. Like, that's the biggest thing. Is that you're not streaming when you're doing it.
I have the luxury of anonymity.
Yeah.
Well, relative anonymity. But, you know, at the same time, I have definitely tried to get rid of a lot of those more toxic traits. But I don't know. Like there's nothing in this that like that's there's a lot of people that are saying, "Oh, was the reaction too harsh?" And I'm like,
I would say yes, a little. Like I think the reaction was a little harsh, but at the same time very much justified.
yeah, like I don't fault them at all.
Yeah.
Because the whole two wrongs don't make a right kind of thing comes to mind, but when somebody is this egregiously like shit talking you all the time, thinking that you do not like you don't that they aren't gonna hear you.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like
I think it's the thing that
to finally get to say something.
Yeah.
After X amount of time, you're gonna just get it all out there.
Yeah.
Like whether this
Exactly,
person
yeah.
like meant every single word of what they said and the way that they said it.
Oh, I'm sure they did.
Well, I mean, like in a I feel like most people who go off like this always have some sort of like little bit of remorse because they're like, I probably could have said that a little bit better.
Yeah.
But not like not like I would take it back. It's just like I would have been at least a little bit more eloquent.
Yeah. Yeah.
But because I've definitely been in that position.
Yeah. Oh
where
yeah.
I'm like,
Same.
it is my time to go off. And then it's like, fuck.
I've done that. Yeah, I've done that a few times. There have been instances though that I've gone off, and I remember in college I went off on somebody because they absolutely just made me so angry, and I remember like a couple days later they came up to me and they're like, "Hey, I know we said some stuff to each other and things got really heated, but I'm sorry. Like, I accept your apology for what you said to me." And I go, "No, no, absolutely not. I meant every single word that I said to you that day, and I will like the fact that you think that I'm going to apologize just instills the fact that I definitely mean every word to you. Like, fuck that. I feel no remorse whatsoever." One of the comments in this YouTube video that I think encapsulate everything goes, "Well, crap, I went from that's a bit much to what did she do for it to get this bad to oh yeah, that makes sense now." Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that checks out now. That tracks. But I do like the irony in in Anoko's clip title, because the title of the clip is "How Not to Treat a Static Member," to which again
there's zero self-realization there.
It's not, yeah, and like I just find it ironic in the fact that obviously she made the title like that to play off as she's the victim of, like, you know, you shouldn't just yell and berate another static member like this other girl is doing to her. But I find it ironic because I'm like, no, she's right. You shouldn't treat a static member like this, because if you talk shit behind their back and they find out about it, then this shit does happen. So this is exactly what not to do to a static member. You shouldn't talk shit behind their back. You shouldn't just
absolutely not.
You shouldn't fucking talk shit about them in general, honestly. And I find it very ironic at her title for this.
Well, so it gives off obviously the same vibes of any of those like Karen-y women or people in general. Not trying to throw, you know, gender under the bus or anything. Mm-hmm. Anybody who records something thinking that they're in the right when somebody is going off on them, and then like mysteriously all of their Facebook posts get deleted, and it's like, no, this person is yelling at you like they're but this black person's yelling at me because I was just walking in the neighborhood. And it's like, it's because you said something really bad to that black person.
Yeah.
It's because you were being racist. It's not they're being reverse racist to you, because that's not a thing. Like, I don't know. I'm probably going to be putting my foot in my mouth, but like, you can't be racist to a white person. Like, you fucking can't. At least you cannot. There's no racism for somebody who has predominantly been racist, or like in a higher level of like society and living for the majority of human existence, at least like civilized society. Like, I've been called some things before, but like, was it necessarily justified at me? No, but at, people with my skin color? Yeah, probably. It was probably justified somewhere along the line. So like, yeah, you just gotta shut up and like maybe don't be a shitty person.
Yeah.
And people won't call you out, and like, don't record yourself. Just like, if you want to make a safe bet after you said something shitty and somebody gets on you about it, the best thing that you can do is not record yourself and then post it and then try and get some sympathy.
Yeah. Because
you're just gonna look like even more of an asshole.
And even then, if you're gonna do that, you gotta be smarter about it. You gotta.
Well, I mean, don't tell people to be smarter about it, because that just is going to try and get people to get away with it.
That's true.
Like,
that's fair.
The only thing that you can do, if you're not going to stop being a shitty person, is don't record yourself.
Yeah. Or don't record yourself. Don't broadcast yourself.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing.
But at the end of the day, just don't fucking
yeah.
Just don't be a bad person.
Yeah. Just don't be a dick. God.
Like, if you're white, as a white person, do everything you can to just be nice to everybody, because holy shit, like, being mean is so simple.
Yeah.
And it's just not gonna do you any good, and you're just gonna look bad, like, no matter what way you do it. So like, just be like, you have an obligation to be nicer than everybody else.
Yeah.
Because maybe not you, but hundreds of thousands of probably millions of people in your luxurious, status have benefited so heavily. So just shut up and be nice.
Yeah. Speaking of trying to be nice and don't be a fucking asshole. I think we should move on to what I'm trying to make as a regular segment of Am I the Asshole? Yes. So we're gonna do that.
Yes.
I have two here picked out. I have not read them other than the title. It was actually kind of hard for me going through the subreddit because I couldn't find any interesting ones. So these are probably the two most interesting, or at least most relatable, that I have. This first one is, am I the asshole for asking my boyfriend to wear a mask if he wants to come to my house every day? It starts, I, 17 female, and my boyfriend, 17 male, have known each other since 7th grade. I am super happy we are together because I struggle with my mental health and could never seem to stay in a relationship for too long. I also have a pretty bad immune system, and therefore I have always worn a mask even before 2020 stuff. Now, let's dive in, because I'm not going to give my life story. I try very hard to go to in-person school. I'm always careful about who I hang around, because I honestly don't want to hang around people that might get me sick. I live with my single mother, and she is the only one who can work right now. So if she got sick, then we could be at risk of having to not get food to pay bills. My boyfriend comes over after school every day to wait for his little brother to get out of football practice, so he isn't wasting gas to drive back home, which is 25 minutes away, then back in 2 hours. Well, recently there is a lot of sickness going around school, so I explained to all my friends and family how I would be cautious when hanging out if I do at all, that is. So when I explained to my boyfriend that I understand he wants to come over so that he isn't wasting gas, but if he wants it to continue, I would prefer him to wear a mask at school. My boyfriend and I have always been one to communicate how we are feeling, but since I asked him about the question, he has been distant and a little angry when I would bring it up. I feel like crap for asking, and I also feel like I'm being super controlling by asking him. I'm afraid to lose this relationship with him because it's the only healthy relationship I've ever had with another person. So am I the asshole for asking him to wear a mask?
No, absolutely not.
I would say no. I would say absolutely not. That the guilt I think she feels is just the symptoms of being in a young relationship. When you're in high school, everything feels like it's the most important thing in the world, no matter what it is. Relationships are like 3 times that, or feel like that, or feel 3 times more important. When you're in high school, I feel like, and I feel like it's not. It should not be like wearing a mask is not hard. It's not a hard thing to do.
No, I really like. I wear. Okay, I think I've stated this before, and I need people to listen because like there was a statistic that was put out there a while ago, and it was talking about on average during like the height of the pandemic, when there was a mask mandate in effect, people on average wore their masks for about 3 hours a day. Mm-hmm. Like over the course of a 7-day period, it only averaged out to about 3 hours a day, because you're unlikely to actually wear it on your weekends, and most of your day outside of work you're not wearing it. I wear it for 10 hours a day.
Wow.
Next to a 500-degree oven.
Oh.
So for about 42 hours a week, I am wearing a mask. Mm. And even then, that's only a fraction of my entire week.
Yeah.
And if I can do it in conditions like that, where also my boss doesn't like the AC on, so it's even hotter, it's fucking ridiculous. Ugh. And I get, like, there are people with legitimate breathing issues.
Yeah.
But that being said, for the most part, masks don't have a negative impact on that. And there are other solutions to that problem.
Yeah. If the boyfriend had, some sort of breathing issue as well, then I could be like, sure, like,
that would be one thing.
That's one thing. But if he's just a regular 17-year-old boy, perfectly fine, perfectly healthy, like,
you're probably
it should not be like a controversial thing.
No.
And it kind of makes me sad to see her just be like, I don't want to lose this relationship because it's the only healthy relationship she's ever had. And I'm like, this is not a healthy relationship. This is not how a healthy relationship works.
If you, I've kind of actually been in this position personally, because my girlfriend is immunocompromised, and when I got COVID, and I actually did expose her, and we're very lucky that she didn't get sick. And I initially exposed her unknowingly, like completely unknowingly, but when I actually got it confirmed, I was just like, hey, like, you need to go, I'm gonna go lay down. And I laid down in bed because I felt like trash.
Right.
And it was my own, like, lack of care in that situation, because I was so worried about myself and being sick and how bad I felt that I wasn't worried about Emily.
Yeah.
And that's really important. Like, it's easy to kind of forget, you know, sometimes like you're just in you know, like damage control mode. You're just like, I just need to relax and lay down. But you need to think more about other people, especially in a relationship. Like, yeah, you feel like crap, but like you don't want to make them feel like crap, especially in my case where you have a significant other who is immunocompromised. It can be even worse for them than you feel, and then you just have two people who can't do anything.
Yeah.
Or, you know, or worse.
Or worse, yeah.
You know,
but
so
I would also say that in your defense, you had COVID. That is.
I mean, yeah. Like I felt like trash.
In your defense, like.
And I was vaccinated.
Like in your defense, like you say that you should have been looking out for Emily and stuff like that, but at the same time, you're the one that's sick. So like it is. I think in your defense, it is. I think it's okay for you to worry about yourself, because it is. Yeah. It is that. It's that mindset of you secure your own mask before assisting others.
Yeah, I mean it's just in the idea of not necessarily letting myself off the hook,
right? Yeah,
and not letting other people off the hook, because like it becomes like you know, I was just looking out for me,
right? Yeah,
and it's like the whole point of the mask is you're not just looking out for yourself, you're looking out for other people, because that is the intent, is like you're potentially sick, like no, you have to protect other people.
Yeah. And,
you know, like did she say that she has health concerns?
Yes.
The person? Yeah, so
the girlfriend says that she let's see here. She said that she has a pretty bad immune system.
Yeah. So likely immunocompromised in some way, which is really, really important. Yeah. As a person with an immunocompromised significant other, it is easy to forget, I think, because you're so used to doing your regular able-bodied stuff every day, and you don't think about like, oh, you're like, oh, well, that you know, it didn't affect me, and then you come home and, you know, all of what has transpired to you, it can be so much more devastating for them, even if it's nothing. You know, it's easy to forget, even if you are like all the time conscious about it. Even if you are super on top of it, it's still easy to forget, like just a small little thing, you know? And I'm not trying to defend the boyfriend at all. He is 17 or whatever. Yeah. Like he's younger. There are many more things going through his head, likely. Yeah. But the person who made this post is very much not in the wrong, and should prioritize their well-being over a relationship where the other person will not prioritize their well-being. They need to find somebody who will think about that more regularly. It's going to be hard to find somebody who thinks about it all the time. Like you might not, even as a person who has health risks, especially in that scenario. But you know, that's more important. Is your safety to be able to have a healthy, lasting relationship, is to stay healthy.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think obviously the both of them are 17 years old. They're still in high school. Having the girlfriend write that ever since she asked him about the question, he has been distant and a little angry every time that she would bring it up. Like, sure, he's 17, he's a kid, but at the same time, I'm just like, fucking grow up, dude. Yeah, fucking grow up, man. Like 100%, just grow up.
Well, I mean, and like you ask your girlfriend for some sort of favor, and she doesn't want to do it at the time. and you're gonna get upset.
Yeah, and it's like,
Or you would feel let down,
Yeah.
or like kind of hurt, and your thing is so like temporary satisfaction,
yeah,
and theirs is potentially life altering
yeah,
and
yeah.
threatening.
It's like,
Like, okay,
alright. Like, okay, whatever, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, like think about your reaction to her asking you something like that. Like, even if it makes you uncomfortable, even if you don't like doing it, think about that the next time you ask your partner something that they might be uncomfortable with.
Yeah.
And how big of a difference those two things are.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to our other one. I thought this one was also kind of interesting. Just again from the title, which is, am I the asshole for not changing my wedding date? Me, 20 female, and my fiance, 22 male, are supposed to get married on August 19th, 2023. We also have a baby on the way that's due in November. I have a cousin, upon finding out she wasn't in my wedding party, who tried to schedule her wedding on the same day as the day we already picked. She originally backed out and said they would figure something out. Fast forward a few months later, all of a sudden, I'm being barraged by my mom and aunts to change our wedding date. Our baby will be about 8 to 9 months old by the time we get married. They're telling me all about how my boobs will be leaking and about how much it's going to be with pumping, which there are bras / undershirts I can wear, etc. to solve that issue. She also brought up this friend her and my stepdad know, who threw a party when their baby was born and the baby caught something and died, and that she is concerned as my grandma and has no clue why I'm not concerned as a mom. Me and my fiance are pretty much onto them and what we think they are doing and don't want to change the date. They won't drop it and won't let it go and are making me feel like the asshole. So, am I the asshole? I would say no, because they scheduled that date first, as well as this wasn't a problem. Like, this wasn't a problem before, like, in all the stages of planning. Why is it a problem now? It seems pretty. I think the excuses that the mom and the family, the excuses that they're trying to supply of, like, oh, like, your boobs will be leaking, and like that's gonna be embarrassing on your wedding day, and like it's gonna be such a hassle with that. It's like, that can all be.
You're not gonna help?
Yeah, it's like one, they're not gonna help, and two, like, that can all very easily be like be solved. Like, you can pre-pump you can pump previously, or, you know, like the post OP says, there are bras and undershirts which she can wear that solve the issue. Like, it's not a huge problem. And I do also think that it's like kind of shitty that the family is having her change the date. Like, I think that's really shitty of just the family in general. Like, because again, it's like that's their date. They had that date first, and it's like while someone, like, I get it. Like, when she says that, I think it's the mom that brought this up, but they brought up that this friend of her and my stepdad know, who threw a party when the baby was born, and the baby caught something and died. Like, sure, that's terrifying and
very specific.
Yeah, but it's very specific. Like, the baby was just born. This baby's going to be 8 to 9 months old at this point. And even still, like, you can take precautions for this stuff. It's not difficult to remedy these issues, and it is awkward that the family is like being like, oh, you should consider changing the date and stuff. It's like, no, bitch, fuck that.
No, yeah, there's no. I don't see anything in here that would remotely qualify them for being in the wrong. I mean, there's nothing that you said, like, I dispute in any way. Like, that's just ridiculous. I don't have a lot of cousins, Especially ones that I would remotely give a shit about. like in this way. Like my family and I aren't particularly close. I like outside of my grandparents and my parents, I really don't talk to anybody. And that's not that I don't love them. Like I love my family, but we're all over the US. Like I have family in California, I have family in Tennessee, I had family in Michigan, I have family in Portugal, I have family in Greece. Like we're everywhere.
Wow.
So like yeah, like it's that's not a very big thing. So like my wedding party wouldn't include any of these people. More than likely. Any of my extended family outside of my grandparents and my parents.
Yeah.
Like so like I mean granted I understand that like different families are you know a little bit you know more like this is a chance for everybody to come together, but like in my experience that's not a thing. And like your mother should be on your side about this. Like this should be she should be more caring about your wedding.
Yeah, like and like the answer, the aunts,
cousin's
like
wedding.
that's whatever. Like it's like that's
fair because they're in that position.
Yeah, they're in that position. But the mom, it's like the fact that the mom is like, yeah, you should definitely change. Like, what? You're supposed to be on her side. What the fuck?
You should like as a mother, as any parent, you should be supporting your child through what they're going through, because not only that, you're now creating more stress for them.
Yeah. Like
who is about to have a baby?
They're about to have a child, and then also they're planning a wedding, to which I've never planned a wedding before, but I've heard that planning a wedding is like incredibly difficult.
Yeah. I mean, my sister went through this. She was pregnant when she got married. And then a couple months later, my nephew was born. So it's not exactly the same, but it's, you know, it's similar. And yeah, my sister was under a lot of stress. And my mom was, as far as I know, was just like all about, you know, keeping her as relaxed and being there as helpful as she possibly could. But it was also hard because my sister was very conscious about people coming over and getting her sick and all of this stuff. She got COVID while she was pregnant. And she was incredibly cautious of everything she could be, and she still managed to get COVID. And you know, she's fine, baby's fine. Her husband, my brother-in-law, is fine. Like, so, you know, some things are just gonna happen, but like you have like in that sense, like you have to like stick to your guns.
Yeah.
Like, if somebody gets like sick on that date, you know, if like for some reason, God forbid she does get sick or something, that's a reason.
Yeah.
Like if there's, but other than that, if you have your stuff set, like a lot of places have, like deposits and shit that you got to take care of. And like, are these family members going to help them with moving all of that?
Yeah.
Or are they only helping this cousin who they're for some reason supporting?
Yeah.
Like it sounds like they're taking all the support away from the poster and not and giving it to, you know, the cousin, which is just ridiculous.
It's just absolutely ridiculous.
It's even more, you know, upsetting and disrespectful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
no, they're not the asshole.
Yeah, same. I would also agree with that as well. All right, we'll do one more, because I just found this one, which made me, which I thought was also kind of interesting. I briefly skimmed it, but it's titled, "Am I the asshole for telling my sister-in-law to fuck herself?"
From what I've experienced, no.
So this one reads,
not that I have like sisters-in-law or anything.
All right,
but Not from anything I've ever seen.
Yeah, so this one reads, myself and my husband were at my sister-in-law and brother-in-law's house with our 17-year-old son. We'll call him Adam. And my mother-in-law and father-in-law and the nieces and nephew. We were all kind of hanging out when my sister-in-law said, dinner is almost ready. Kids, wash your hands. And Adam, wash your face too. My son said, what's that supposed to mean? He definitely sounded annoyed, but he didn't get loud with her or anything. My sister-in-law said, you need to wash your face. You're all oily. It's just manners. I told my sister-in-law that my son is 17 and can manage his own hygiene and that oily skin is a part of puberty. She started arguing with me and I got annoyed. I could see my son was getting upset, so I stood up and said, you know what? I'm not really in the mood for a full dinner. I think I'll head home. Myself, my son, and my husband got up to go. Sister-in-law said I was raising a rude and dirty child, so I told her to go fuck herself on the way out of the door. Obviously, she's pissed, and my husband and I ceded the moral high ground with my parting remark. I was just so mad. Who does she think she is? Anyway, am I the asshole?
No.
I also would be like, no. I think this comment on the thread encapsulates it, and it says, not the asshole, she needs to mind her business. I may be biased because I'd remark the same way, but still, that was uncalled for on her part. She should go wash her own face.
Yeah, she should go wash her own face.
Yeah. Like, who says that to another person in general? Like, if I don't even know. The fact that I think for personally, I would be in the same position as the mother. If my sister-in-law said to my kid, you need to wash your face, you're all oily, it's just manners. Like, just that, I would have been so offended.
You're all oily. Like,
yeah,
what?
What
does that have
what does
to
that
do with
mean?
anything?
What does that? Yeah, and what does that have to do with anything? Like, if they were like sweaty, or they had just come inside from like playing something, like doing something, or like playing around, sure, I could get that. Like, oh, it's like, oh, you're all sweaty and gross. Like, sure, that there's context, and that kind of justifies it a little bit. But I think to single out just this one kid and just being like, okay, yeah, kids, go wash your hands, but you specifically, you go wash your face too. Like, what the fuck? It's just like so. Yeah, like if I was that mom, I would be about to like throw down a little bit. Like,
yeah, ceding the moral high ground is a small step. Like,
yeah,
that
like, whatever. This high ground, it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
No,
having this high ground's not worth it.
No. Like, I'll be on, like, we'll be on even ground when I'm throwing hands, you know?
Yeah. The only high ground that I'm gonna be on is them on the floor.
Yeah.
after we've thrown hands.
There. Yeah.
That's the only high ground that I'll be standing on.
So, I had really bad acne when I was in high school.
Same.
And holy shit, the only thing that made me feel worse about it was people pointing it out. Like, obviously. But, like, anytime my dad would be like, hey, you got like a buddy there or something, and I'm like, thanks, dude. Like,
yeah.
Fucking.
It's like, yeah, of course.
I didn't need that.
I don't need that.
Like, bro, I'm 17.
Yeah.
And, like, you definitely never taught me how to, like, take care of any of this shit. So, you know, and I had to like work real hard to get much clearer skin.
Yeah.
And I'm very lucky now. Yeah, like every day I wash my face with an oil-free acne wash thing, and it dries out my skin.
Same.
But it's because I have a lot of oil on my skin.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Anyway.
Hey, Hex, if you could actually just go wash your face real quick.
I'll go do that.
Before we continue the rest of this episode, that'd be great, champ. All right?
It's hot in my room.
It's just
Fuck
manners,
off.
all right? It's just manners.
It's just manners. Like it's, I don't get it. Like, all, and not to like be like a guy about it, but most 17-year-old
it sticks with them.
Guys that I know, they're not all about keeping a regular, skincare routine.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily on their mind all the time. Like, and I'm assuming that as, an older than 17-year-old woman is probably more on her radar. Like she probably has a regimen that she goes through or had to go through.
But even then it's like, but the sister-in-law has nieces and nephews. Like the sister-in-law has a son and daughter as well. Like,
right.
She should like.
Well,
we don't know how old they are. Sure.
Well, if she was the kind of person who is so about that she is probably more on top of her kids, like, hygiene and oily skin or lack thereof. They might not have to deal with that. So it might not even be something that she is accustomed to. So, everybody's body chemistry is different, and like it's so stupid to criticize somebody for like things that they for the most part can't control.
Yeah. And I think here's the thing is that like, sure, like let's say that the sister-in-law that's she's more on top of her skincare and whatnot than everyone else. Okay, let's say that. Sure, let's say that. I still feel like it's still not okay to just single out another person.
No, I mean it's even more not okay because you are more aware of it.
Yeah,
it's like, well, yeah, just because you're in that position doesn't mean that anybody else is.
Yeah,
and that, like, not even counting the fact that like keeping up on that stuff is expensive.
Yeah,
like it takes time. Like 17-year-old kids don't necessarily have a lot of time. Even though they do, they don't. Not a lot of them have great time management skills. So when I was 17, I wasn't getting up early to make sure that I looked 100% every day.
Yeah.
And I was staying out pretty late, so it's not like I was taking care of all of my hygiene stuff at the end of the night, because then I had to go wake up the next morning and go to school. Like, there were definitely some frumpy days, man.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, same.
I don't know anybody who hasn't gone through that. I mean, even working, it's the same thing. Everybody sucks at time management, even if they're good at time management.
Yeah.
There just are not enough hours in the day, and especially when you're 17 and you're trying to, have a social life and get through school and just like exist, especially within these past like 2 to 3 years. It's like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Don't as an adult, don't criticize what a kid looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I will say that, like, props to the kid, because the OP says that the kid goes, what's that supposed to mean? He's definitely sounded annoyed, but he didn't get loud or with her with anything. Like props, I can see where that kid's coming from.
Sorry?
Like, if that was me, I would also make that same remark, like, not loud, not to like bring attention, but been like, that's messed up. What the hell is that supposed to mean? But whatever. Yeah, like, I'll go do it.
I probably wouldn't have even done that. I would have just been like,
just that look of like, okay, sure,
all right,
whatever.
You're just gonna mind your own business from
and
now
then
on,
I think I definitely appreciate the mom saying, you know what, not in the mood for a dinner, I think we're just gonna go home. And like, the mom and the husband, they get up and it's like, we're leaving, we're out. And all like,
that's some good support for your kid.
Yeah, that's some some real good support for the kid. To which also, again, like, fuck the sister-in-law, because then she goes, she said that I was raising a rude and dirty child.
Dude, first of all, where does the rude come from?
At that point, honestly, I'm surprised the husband didn't do anything. If I was the husband and my in-laws said that to my wife and my son, I would have probably thrown hands at that point. Like,
I know for a fact that my little sister would never do anything like that.
Yeah.
I might get myself in trouble in the future here, but I can't necessarily say that I couldn't see something like that happening from my older sister.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that happening, and in all honesty, like I wouldn't be quiet about it.
Mm-hmm.
I would be doing the exact same thing. I'd be like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Yeah,
Fuck
100%.
off.
Same. Yeah.
My kid is more important than your opinion of my kid.
Same. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if my kid's
So-
doing something illegal, that's a different story. But like,
Yeah, but like having oily skin is not a crime.
exactly. Yeah.
It's not even a social crime.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing that they can do.
Yeah, I think
Like as a parent, the only thing that you can do to help them is to help them understand
Yeah.
like why this is happening and like try and help them prevent it if that's
Yeah.
something that they care about, you know.
Yeah.
But otherwise, like leave them alone about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
If they come and ask you or if you approach them in a good way that like is only from a place of understanding and helpfulness, not like trying to make them feel bad about it and forcing them to change it, you know, then you're approaching it the right way.
Yeah, and I think the
Don't
only
do what my dad did.
the only way I think the sister-in-law would not be like in the wrong is what bothers me is that the sister-in-law said not only did the sister-in-law single out Adam, but also her reasoning was it's all oily, it's just manners. Like,
yeah. What?
Like, in what way is that an affront on any like
Were
on
you
for
having, like,
anything?
Were you having like a black tie dinner with
Yeah,
your
like
sister-in-law? Like what's going on here?
Like, yeah, like in what
Are
way
you
is it just
offended
manners?
that he like didn't take a shower before he came over to your house?
Yeah.
What? Like what
insult
extenuating
did
circumstances
this
do you
happen?
think were going on before they came over to your house? Like did they have like a rugby match before they came over?
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
what does it matter?
Yeah, it's like if there was literally any, I think almost any other reasoning, I think I would have been okay with, but it's just manners reasoning. It's just like, what manners? In what way is this just manners?
See, so me thinking about that, like, when I go over to a friend's house, that especially one that I haven't seen in a long time, I definitely I try to take a shower,
Yeah.
I brush my teeth, and I try to make myself look nice. But that's a me thing.
Yeah.
That's a personal thing. That's not a universal thing. Like just and if that's how she operates, I wouldn't expect anybody. Well, okay. If you're coming to my house, I don't want you to smell really bad.
Right, yeah.
But I don't care if you just got back from the gym or something and you put some body spray on or if you're a mechanic or you were just at your job or something, that's different. But if you actually smell like BO, I might call you on it.
Yeah.
But that's I think a little bit different. It as far as we can tell, it was solely a visual thing.
Yeah.
And how often do you how often do you even mentally how often is somebody so oily that you're I need to say something?
Yeah, you had something needs to be said.
I don't think I've ever been in a position where I was wow, that person has a really oily face.
Yeah.
I've never thought that in my
I'm
life.
Insulted.
Yeah. It's a person by person basis, based on what they feel like doing in regards to preparation for going and seeing somebody.
Yeah.
You can't expect somebody to approach things the exact same way that you would do, especially if you are likely a very well-groomed person.
Yeah.
If that's something that you care so much about, then chances are you're very particular.
Yeah. And even then, it's like there's a time and place to say stuff, and that's just not one of those places.
Yeah, that's your nephew.
Yeah, like
you just be nice to them.
Yeah, and even like if it's that much of a concern, you can like you can like pull the parents aside. And
Don't call the kid out.
Yeah, you don't care. Don't call the kid and be like, hey, I've noticed that is oily. That like it's probably nothing, but like
Yeah, talk to the
like
parents.
ABC. I don't like there's just a better way to branch that subject.
Yeah, don't talk to the kid like directly like that, especially in front of the parents, because that's going to not only insult the kid, it's going to insult
the whole family. It's the nieces, the nephews, the father, or
you're creating such an awkward situation. But if it's something that you're really concerned about, yeah, like you said, like take the parents aside and be like, hey, like don't even bring up like I felt uncomfortable, because no one gives a shit about that.
It's just like I'm worried about I'm worried about his complexion or whatever.
Hey, if I noticed he had oily skin, is this something that he's concerned about? Is this something that you're concerned about?
Yeah. If yes, then yeah, I want to help. If no, then okay, it's not my business.
If no, then oh well.
Okay. Okay, whatever. It's whatever.
Yeah, like if you really want to go about it, like next time they come over, you just have like a bucket of water above the door, and then you pull it right before he gets in.
It's the standard play. You prop it up against the open door, so they open it. Just.
I mean, at least that way it's funny.
Yeah, that way it's funny a little bit.
He gets clean.
Yeah.
You're like, oh man, sorry, that was there for the mailman. There's some soap in there too, so just rub it in if you feel like it.
Oh god. All right. There. So before we end for tonight, I have one more thing that I want to talk about, just kind of briefly, but also kind of in depth. And that is that I have started using Spotify for music.
Oh, hey!
All right. Now,
took you long enough.
so I say this as it's not my default music listening program yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I do use it for like podcasts and to like find new music. I do use it for that. Okay. Now, that being said, I have several problems with Spotify.
Okay, all right.
All right. It's not even like my problems aren't even with like moving my library around or moving them over to Spotify. I've given up on that. I've completely, utterly given up on trying to move my iTunes library.
That's specifically because you use iTunes and they're not in MP3s.
Yeah,
if they were in MP3s, it's so easy.
It's like I found like
that's an iTunes.
That's an iTunes problem. That's whatever. It's fine. I've given up on that. I found like another way to kind of like go about it, sort of. But that's beside the point. All right. My first problem with Spotify is I don't like how Spotify does stuff when you search for music. I have a very big problem with how Spotify does stuff. So like when you search for music, and I think this is just because I'm used to how iTunes works. So like on iTunes when you search music. So like an example is AJR, which is a group that I'm a big fan of. Okay. When I search AJR on iTunes, the first thing that it gives me is just like just a general search of most popular songs that are titled AJR, most relevant searches for songs by AJR, general stuff. The moment if I click AJR on iTunes and I'm be like, I specifically like, hey, I want music from AJR, the group specifically, then iTunes will then show me the best-selling or most popular, at least, or most popular albums and most popular songs, to which I can then organize those by release date. I can check out like their whole song lit, like all their singles and songs, and then I can do the same thing for their albums. Okay. The problem with Spotify is that when I try to do that on Spotify, I have a very difficult time in finding anything for them, for like just AJR in general. So
so this is it's super blown out. All I typed in was AJR.
Yeah.
This is them.
Yeah.
These are all of their songs.
Okay.
And then you can tap over. That's just songs by them.
Yeah. But so
then
okay.
What is the issue that you're having?
My issue is that I use the desktop version. Okay. I use the desktop version. I'll type in AJR. All right.
Bringing up the desktop version.
All right. I type in AJR, and it says it's got like all the different specific things, like it's an all search, songs, playlists, artists, albums, that stuff. Okay.
Okay.
My first problem. So it's like, let's say that I want to know their albums. Okay. Or no. I want to know their songs. Okay. I want to know their songs.
Okay.
So I click the song. I click the little songs tab thing. And again, it shows me a list of AJR songs, okay? My problem is there's no way for me to organize this list.
Okay.
This is just a list of AJR songs, and I would like for me, like I was like, what if I want to know when they were released? What if I want them to be organized by album? What if I want them to be organized in
then you go
literally anything?
And you go to the artist page.
Okay. All right. So I go to artist. I click AJR. It takes me to like their page, I guess. And so so there's a popular songs list. Okay, that's fine. Yep. Discography. Okay.
Which is where your albums, where your popular releases, your albums, your singles, and LPs will be. So that's how you navigate that.
Okay. I'm still bothered by it. I don't like that I have to... Okay, now my new problem is I don't like that I have to do this specifically. I don't like that I have to go through these different channels for Spotify. That's my new problem.
I can't say that is a problem for me because
I think it's a problem because it's that
Is it an accessibility issue?
I think it's I'm not used to it. It's with I think it's just because I'm not used to it. It's like with iTunes, I can just easily I have the drop down menu, easily select that, boom, it's there, done, figured it out. Versus Spotify, I have to go through. It's that privilege of I have to jump through 1 to 2 more hoops to get to the thing that I want to. Ugh, gross. So I think that I will admit that is the problem that I have is a very it's a privilege problem that I have.
I see. I mean, I've had my own issues with searching things for sure. But I've also definitely gotten used to it.
Yeah.
So I think it's for the most part it's less of an accessibility issue and more of kind of a privilege and just a general different user experience.
Yeah.
Between two platforms, which you can't necessarily expect them to be 1-to-1.
Yeah, that's fair. I think another problem that I have is AJR is kind of is a bad example, but this was for more obscure stuff. So Final Fantasy 14. Final Fantasy 14 released an album back in 2020. It was called Pulse. It was a remix album of some of the most popular songs.
Right.
With iTunes, typically
I'm seeing the problem.
Yeah, with iTunes it'll show all the single releases, but then also the album itself, which condenses all the singles into the album itself. Spotify doesn't do that, which makes things very difficult sometimes.
Yeah,
and like trying to find, especially when I'm trying to find a specific album, it makes it very difficult to find it, because like I'm looking here and like I'm looking at the albums for the search, and it gives me a single from the album, but it doesn't give me the actual whole album.
Oh, okay. So what is your search right now? Because I can
Okay.
show you how to get
my search was Final Fantasy 14 Pulse. That was the actual what I specifically searched for.
Okay, and is it this one with the chocobo with the headphones?
Yeah.
Okay, so and this is just the single.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So we're gonna go to that.
So I only see one choice, and it's Pulse Through the Maelstrom. That's the one that I see from the albums section.
Okay. So
I can choose the artist Masayoshi Soken, because he was the artist for it.
Yep.
So I go to his discography. So now this is even more confusing, because I go to his discography. I only see 2 here. I only see 2, and they're both singles. And I know for a fact the album has 14 songs on it.
When did the album release?
2020.
Well, not that this is a good excuse, but the whole album might not be on there for licensing reasons.
All right, that's fair. That's
or
fair
whatever.
Enough. That's fair enough.
But usually that's my go-to route. Is if you're listening to a specific song and you don't remember what album it is, you can usually like right-click on it, and then you can just be like, "Hey, go to album."
Okay.
The problem is it's on a single, so it believes that's it.
That's the album, which I know for a fact it's not.
Yeah. So they might have only been released as singles for some reason.
I think they were. Released as singles for a little bit, and then the album came out. But I think that's my primary problem with Spotify, is that there's still some music that I like to listen to that I can get on iTunes that I cannot get on Spotify still. For the I know that they're constantly adding new music. I know they're constantly adding stuff. Unfortunately, Spotify is still not in a position where it's good enough for me to, fully adopt it as a service.
Sure.
So that's my biggest. I think that's my biggest problem, is that there's still some, and like that's actually just one example that I recently figured out. Another big one was actually for Persona music. I was like in the process. So when I first downloaded Spotify, I was like, all right, I'm just gonna bite the bullet. I'm gonna go through my entire iTunes library, and I'm gonna manually add everything. I'm just gonna cross reference and manually add everything onto Spotify. And I was like, there was like no rhyme or reason of how I was doing it. I was just picking and choosing of like stuff that popped in my head. of like, oh right, like I need to search this stuff, or I need to search this stuff, or this stuff is important, I want to add these first. And Persona was one of them. And I realized that searching for more vague concepts, so like Persona music as a concept, is a lot more difficult, or at least I find a little bit more difficult to do on Spotify than in comparison to other like in comparison to iTunes.
Because it's in Japanese.
One, because it's in Japanese. One, because it's in Japanese. Two, because
a more authentic experience.
It's hard to, and two, it's hard to kind of differentiate sometimes between what is the official stuff and what is just like indie stuff, essentially.
Like remixes?
Remixes.
Or do you mean like people doing covers?
People doing covers, partially.
Right.
Yeah, it's like it's a small thing. It's a small thing, but it's one of those. It is an issue that it's like, oh, this is kind of difficult. Like this is just a little difficult, just a little bit.
Yeah, because
as well as that there are still, and again, it's the same problem of there are still some albums that are on iTunes that just aren't on Spotify, which is, and it's also weird because one of the biggest example is if you search Persona 3 movie, that album is not on Spotify, but there are playlists of people who've made it that you can't access anymore because they took the album off of Spotify.
Yeah, that is definitely a problem.
Which is like really weird and frustrating.
Like that all these playlists come up like Persona 5 playlist.
Yeah,
and it's none of these are actually songs from the game at all.
And I think that's another thing that I don't like about Spotify is I don't actually like the social aspect
I don't care
of
about
Spotify.
seeing people's playlists.
I could not care less about what other people are listening to, genuinely. Yeah. So like seeing other people's playlists, I'm like, cool. I don't care though.
Persona 4 chiptunes. Don't you want to listen to that?
No. Not really. No, actually.
Actually, this is kind of cool.
Okay, maybe occasionally. Like hard occasionally, but like that's a very rare instance and very few and far between. So like, yeah, like I like Spotify in that when I'm listening,
you actually have to listen to this. It's pretty good.
Oh my fucking god!
Anyway,
god damn it.
Not to get you off track. I'm glad I found this because it's kind of good.
Okay, but so like I like. God damn it! I'm getting distracted. This is good. But I will say that I like using Spotify in the vein of like because like with iTunes when you're looking through their store, you can only play 30 to like a minute and a half worth of the song itself before you have to buy it. So I do like the fact that like. Alternatively, if I'm buying music, I can just go to Spotify, pull up the song in theory, and then just listen to it in its entirety, and be like, okay, do I actually want to buy this song or do I not want to buy this song?
You're not buying the song.
Well, not buying the song, but like, do I want to officially buy it on iTunes or something like that?
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so like it's another way for me to demo a song and be like, oh, this actually is really good, or like I like this specific part but not the rest of it. So this isn't something that I would regularly listen to, you know.
Yeah.
So I do like that aspect. But I do find that just trying to find stuff sometimes is it doesn't feel as user friendly as I thought it would be. I think that's just it was I think it was just my expectations of hearing everybody using Spotify and hearing everyone like their experiences with Spotify. Like, oh yeah, Spotify's great, it's so easy to use, and it's just my expectations were skewed in that. So when I started actually using Spotify, I was like, this doesn't feel nearly as good as I thought it would feel, but okay, I guess. And again, it's like my comparison is iTunes, which isn't great in any sort of regard, but it's good enough, because it's a little bit more different than that, and that's what I'm basing it off of. It does feel like I wanted it to be better than iTunes, but I'm unfortunately just a little bit disappointed by it, just a little bit.
That's fair.
Yeah, and I like those are my. Those are my gripes about Spotify right now.
I can only hope it gets better, not only for you, but for myself, because I'm used to these hang-ups, but it doesn't mean that I don't see them.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh yeah, I had to kind of figure out a way to skirt around some of these problems, but it doesn't mean that they're not problems, for sure.
Yeah, and so that's where I'm at with my Spotify journey.
But does but does iTunes allow you to see all of the lyrics in Japanese?
You're right. It does not.
I was looking at the camera that was over there. That is no
You're
longer
right.
over there. It's right there.
You raise a very good point. It does not do that. That is a very good point. But at the same time, I will still say that
That's so
it's
cool.
still not my default. It's still not my default listening application for music right now.
On the desktop version, at least as far as I have seen, I just found something out that when you have the lyrics up, you can just click to a specific lyric that you want, and it'll play from that moment. That's really fucking cool.
That is cool. That's pretty cool. I will admit.
Didn't
That's
know that
pretty
was a
cool. But yeah, that is currently Spotify is not for my listening needs. Spotify is not as good as iTunes for now, unfortunately.
For now.
Hopefully, I will hope that it gets better, but I still will probably still be using iTunes for the vast majority of my music listening experience. I will say that as far as finding new music, I will try to use Spotify a little bit more often. That being said, though, a lot of the way that I find new music nowadays is through TikTok. Awkwardly enough, it's through TikTok. Like it's not even like through like sound clips of TikToks. I just find a bunch of artists on TikTok now, and I just listen to their stuff there, and I'm like, yeah, they're pretty good. Like I wanna like buy some of their stuff now. So, oddly enough, that's like because I actually just came across 2 new artists on TikTok last night. One of which I actually already had a song from them, but they're I think this coming Friday they're getting ready to release another one. And it's a group called Games We Play, that's the first group. And then the second one is a Canadian rapper by the name of I think Connor Price, I think is his name. But he's a Canadian rapper, and he does like little skits for his songs on TikTok and stuff like that. But yeah, both pretty good, pretty interesting groups. But yeah, found them both just from scrolling through TikTok. So, that's a thing. But before we go, also I do want to also ask. You shared a clip with me. Why?
Oh, I found it and I thought it was really funny.
Oh, okay. So I thought that was like something you wanted to talk about. So I'm just like, why? What is this? Okay.
Well, I mean, you can throw it up because it is actually pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
As well as the text replies from the Twitch chat that were if you scroll down on the actual thing, is pretty fucking funny. So yeah, I would put that up.
Okay.
You should put that up on stream.
Gotcha.
And play the clip, and then if you feel like putting up the image of the Twitch chat, it's pretty entertaining.
Okay. All right. That is. I see that. And okay, people can go look at that on their own time. And I think on that note, guys, that is going to be it for us tonight for this episode of the C Plus Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching. If you missed tonight's episode, you can catch it on YouTube next week when I upload it. Then, last week's episode will be actually up on YouTube this coming Wednesday, so be on the lookout for that. But as always, though, my name is Shogun Shin. That is Hex Ginkgo. This has been the C Plus Podcast. And we will see you guys next time.
Bye, everybody.